Okay, so we found some more interesting data, but I'm still trying to make sense of it in a way. So basically, um, there was Missingno 121, 135, 182, 183, and 184, and I don't know if like it might be like this is what their type advantages were, but it was basically like right now what we know is like 121 was supposed to be a bird type. There was nothing else. Now keep in mind, bird type was like prototype flying, but what's really weird about a bird type though, it didn't necessarily have to be a Pokemon that knew how to fly or it had wings. It could have been like for example, like a Psyduck, for example. Psyduck is obviously a water type, but it's also, but it doesn't fly though. It's a duck though, but it might be a kind of duck that doesn't fly. It's kind of something to think about. But it's not it's not Psyduck though. It could be something else. Then we have 135, which, believe it or not, there's no typing. But what's weird is there's that weird blurry image on the internet where that's really the closest one we have right now. Thinking like, maybe it's a baby Kangaskhan, maybe it's a baby Cubone. I think maybe it could be something like along those lines if it's not, but I still think it's a baby Kangaskhan though, because it would make sense in a way. It's also, and then 182, 183, and 184 are poison types, which leads me to believe that maybe it kind of did this, like, for example, it doesn't have to be Petalil and Lilligant, but it could have been, there's something else. They were recycled in Gen 5, but according to Ken, the illustrators at the time of Gen 5, they said that a lot of the grass types that they created were actually supposed to be based on Gen 1's rivalry with some of the grass types. And if you look at the index numbers for Rhydon's, like the first one and near the end, you'll find out that a lot of the data was actually supposed to be at the very, like near the end. It was like they were all grass types or poison types. And so it makes me think, well, maybe it was a 3-line family of poison grass types that we've never seen, that was probably recycled later on in Gen 5. Because what's really weird is, if you think about it, they had so many ideas, but they ended up scrapping half of them. And then when the next games came out, they had even more ideas, and then they scrapped half of those. So if you think about it, you can see how this pattern kind of goes on. Like, we've had so many Pokemon that they've decided on, they've kept, they finalized, and we're up to like 1,000 almost. I think it's like almost closer to 900. And who knows when Gen 9's coming out and what we'll have then, but it just seems like they have so many ideas. They have so many concept arts. They have so many ideas that don't make it past like the beta, the alpha, the programming stages. If you're a programmer, you know what I'm talking about. But it just seems like the data's out there, but just how far back do we have to go to find it at that time? But like they could have finalized them like on an index sheet, and if we could just find that, we would be able to find out what their original 300 were at the time. And then when Gen 2 came out, because it's weird, because like if you look at all the index numbers that they're originally drawn in, not the index numbers like the National Dexter, but the index numbers where you can sort of see how many ideas they really had. And a lot of the stuff makes sense, because if we are to believe that like even Gen 1 could have had like 300 something designs, and then when Gen 2 started happening, they said that it started at exactly 300. Like Celebi was like the very first Pokemon in that Gen 2 stripe, but like most of the Pokemon from Gen 1 were moved to Gen 2 that weren't in Gen 1. So maybe Celebi wasn't really the first Pokemon, but like at that time when they were developing Gen 2 and they were starting to write like after the first 300, that was basically, Celebi could have been one of those Pokemon. So it's interesting to think, like where do they, like at the time of development history, where did they begin and where did they stop? And then they started over and did the same thing, multiple times. It's interesting to think about. They probably have all this data sitting on a computer somewhere, And even just a simple image that we can be confirmed by would be able to just at least explain what kind of creature it was. Maybe we don't need to know what the typing and the name of it is, but we just kind of have a picture to go off of, like, so we know what we missed out on, because we can fill in the blanks as time goes on. It seems like a lot of ideas were recycled into something else, but this is what I know so far, at least. But I'll just try to find more I can. But anyways, it just seems like what is known as a Missingno is really just a missing number, basically, because no is basically what they call it for short. So anyways, again, if you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe. I'll find more data and I'll do the best I can. But as of right now, this is mostly, like, this isn't just stuff I'm finding. This might be stuff that people have already found, posted on the internet. And again, the golden rule just has to be, we have to be able to make sense of it somehow. And if we can relate it to something else, then yeah, that's definitely worth considering then. But there has to be some kind of factual proof behind it, though.